think where, parents, as they're trying to get through that, they oftentimes ignore that or don't put the pressure on or the focus on it as it needs to be. They just think they just want to get through this thing, right? Not really thinking about the impacts that has on their kids.
Yeah. Well, they're going through so much too. Yeah. It's an emotional, like I said, it's a personal problem. I have a partial legal solution to your emotional, personal problem, but you need other resources too. I'm not a trained therapist. I can't coach you. I can give you my advice, both legal and personal, but if I refer you to someone to get help, go get help.
Yeah.
Because you need somebody who can help walk you through like changing your thought patterns around things and your mindset. I often recommend books to clients. Like, you need to read this book before the next time we get together because I want you to think about your mindset around what's going on in your world.
Yeah.
I generally will send them with the 4 agreements, or I'll refer them to the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, about not taking things personally and always doing your best and, always assume positive intent. Like, there's just things that you need for yourself as a human and to become the better person that I hope for you to be when your divorce is over.
Yeah, well, and looking at things with a clear mind where you can make rational decisions as opposed to emotionally fueled ones where you're just, I think, grounding yourself in that capacity, knowing that you're in a situation where emotions are going to be high, that you may not be looking at things, the right way or whatnot. So, I'd be curious, is one of the tactics that you all have is to really spend some time up front and kind of counsel some of these individuals to ensure divorce is in fact the path they want to go down?
Yes.
I would imagine that might be a big part of this, right? To ensure that it's not just a reaction based on, you know what I mean? I don't know. Do you find yourself in that situation often?
I do. I normally will ask a client, what all have you tried to save your marriage before you came here? Yeah. Have you been to counseling? Have you dated your spouse lately? Like, when's the last time you guys went out? When's the last time you guys went out for dinner together? Because what I find a lot, and what my husband and I struggled with for a while was that, and I feel like being a divorce lawyer has made me a much better wife, by the way, but that's a whole other topic. You get busy with kids and homework and sports and finances and work and all the things. And the next thing you know, these client or these parties get to, empty nest stage and they have no idea who they're living with anymore. They're like, I don't know you. Like, I don't, you're a stranger to me now. And so we were, I'm very intentional about date nights with my husband. So we didn't get to that point when the kids graduated and are now kind of in and out at this point. We know who we are and we still like each other and we still do things together. But what I get a lot of is, I'll just say, are you still friends? Like, do you still have things in common? Like, do they know you're here? Like, have you had a conversation with them about where you are in the relationship? Or is this just something that you got your feelings hurt about something? And that's okay if it is, but let's be honest about what brought you here and what efforts you've made to save your marriage before we make this decision. Yeah. And I get a lot of that from Judge Ferguson. I give him credit for that because he was a very devout Catholic, or he is a very devout Catholic. And I asked him that question when I was working for him. I'm like, can you tell me, how you feel about the fact that, from your perspective as a Catholic, that divorce is just wrong and it shouldn't happen. And then yet you sit on the bench every day and divorce people. Like, how do you justify that? And because I was trying to justify it for myself, right? Because these are things I'm thinking. Yeah. And he said, well, I didn't bring them here. They brought themselves here. And he was very intentional about asking them all, have you done everything you can? We'd have a settlement docket on a Friday. One Friday a month, we had settlement docket. And he'd give them a speech beforehand. And one of the questions, or one of the statements he would say is, have you done everything that you can? Because divorce is like a roller coaster, too. You can start it, and then you're on it, and you feel like you can't get off. You're kind of strapped in for the ride now. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be. You can push the pause button and decide, I really don't want to do this. Like, there was an emotion that brought you to this point. Yeah. But if you look back at it, do you really want this? And we'd have some couples that would sit there and talk and ask to put their case off on the administrative docket to have some time to talk about reconciliation. I've had couples reconcile. I had one couple that reconciled 3 times. This third time was the charm. It was like, I think I'm done this time. We have couples that reconcile all the time and decide to dismiss their cases, and then we never see them again because it was an emotional thing that drove them to a place. And then when they really thought through, like, not just emotionally, do I want to detach from you? Yeah. But like, now if we split up all of our stuff, like, can each of us live on what we have? And then they go, no, I really, you can't create 2 households out of one and the 2 households be the same as they were when it was one.
Yeah.
And they think through that and go, okay, hang on, maybe this is, it's worthwhile. I had a client that had finally hit 7 figures in his net wealth. And he was like, wait a minute, if I do this, I got to go back to 6 figures. Yeah. Like it was in his head that his entire goal in life was I need to have 7 figures of net worth.
That's going to be gone overnight.
And he's going to have to rebuild. And he's like, let me go to counseling first. Yeah. I never saw him again.
It's real easy to make a snap decision when you think that that's going to be a fix as opposed to putting the hard work in.
Yes.
And I know we've shared this offline a little bit. I too am on my second marriage, and I think I'm way better of a wife this go around because I had I didn't know, I was so young and didn't know what I was doing, right? And it's just one of these things where, and I think our society has gotten too divorce crazy, where it's like, well, we'll just get divorced. It's like, why don't you actually put the work in and try to, but I agree with you. My husband and I, it's like, if we don't have date night, you can tell, and where it's just, you become kind of ships in the night or roommates that share responsibility for children. And depending on the situation of those kids, it can be really, really hard, it's just very challenging. So it's so critical to invest that time and make sure that you don't become just friends as opposed to, it's just so important.
Absolutely.
So switching gears a little bit, I love how you keep referencing Judge Ferguson as being someone who was a big mentor in your life and still is, it sounds like, to this day.
I love him. Yeah.
Talk to us just a little bit about mentorship and, especially in the field of law and just, being a woman and owning your own practice. Like I know with your story with Judge Ferguson, that was obviously very influential. How does that look in your life now as far as mentorship goes, whether that is to your team or it's to those that you went to law school with, or, just would love to hear about how that plays a role in your life now.
Sure. So I was blessed to have Judge Ferguson. I was blessed to have my buddy Guy McCombs. We studied for the bar together. We were close.